Welcome to our daily news segment on 24 Hour. We hope you will find the information useful. Don't forget to like and share to support the program. Now let's move on to the detailed news.
Hello, dear audience. Natural disasters and catastrophes continue to occur relentlessly, submerging China in a series of events such as tornadoes, earthquakes, and particularly frequent and devastating floods caused by heavy rainfall. These incidents serve as prolonged warning signs that persist for days on end, making everyday life extremely challenging due to severe and harsh weather conditions. Yesterday, China closed ports and railways ahead of the landfall of Typhoon number 2, while the country is still grappling with the aftermath of the floods. The South China Morning Post reported this morning that Typhoon number 2 made landfall in Fujian Province, China, after ravaging Hainan Island and coastal areas the previous day. Chinese authorities issued a level 3 warning for the typhoon and ordered the closure of ports and railways in the affected areas. In preparation for the impact of Typhoon number 2, the Shanghai government closed several parks and public museums and advised people to avoid large gatherings both indoors and outdoors. Over 150 ships, including passenger and cargo vessels, were evacuated from the area. As of yesterday, the center of Typhoon number 2 was located approximately 740 kilometers southeast of Fujian province. The typhoon is moving northwest at a speed of about 15 kilometers per hour. Typhoon number 2 is forecasted to bring heavy rainfall to the regions of Fujian, Zhejiang, and Taiwan. The typhoon's landfall in China comes after the central and eastern parts of the country, particularly Jiangxi province, recently endured record-breaking floods that claimed the lives of at least 58 people. The authorities in Hainan province are gradually dealing with the debris and working to clear the roads filled with vehicles and belongings swept away by the floods. The flood event in Jiangxi this year has affected millions of people and cost billions of dollars in damages. Emergency response officials in Jiangxi province have committed to conducting large-scale cleaning and disinfection measures to prevent disease outbreaks after the natural disaster. Chinese media warned that Typhoon number 2's landfall could bring torrential rains to the areas of Jiangxi province in the coming days. The China Meteorological Administration predicts that the typhoon's landfall in Fujian province will lead to heavy rainfall and trigger severe landslides in coastal areas to the local time. Emergency response agencies in China have dispatched specialized units to Fujian province and Shanghai to provide support and guidance for emergency preparedness and response to the typhoon. Earlier, China raised its emergency response to level 2 for Typhoon number 2, issuing an orange alert and elevating flood response and control measures from level 4 to level 3. The typhoon has brought heavy rainfall, flooding, and significant damage to many provinces, with over 3,000 houses damaged, destroyed, or submerged. According to estimates from local authorities, the damage caused by Typhoon number 2 is the most severe, with a total value of up to 31 billion Chinese yuan. However, the overall estimated damage is expected to continue to increase as complete statistical data is yet to be obtained, and some provinces are still experiencing flooding due to the impact of the typhoon. Meanwhile, China is projected to face additional disasters caused by the typhoon. In another development, many of the millions of victims are still sheltering in evacuation camps after the recent dual earthquakes and tsunamis, which are still shocking as they witness hundreds of terrifying aftershocks. The number of deaths related to the dual disasters is so high that local authorities have started mass burials for the victims. According to local reports, in the early morning yesterday, in Sichuan, hundreds of villages in a town were left with no standing houses after a sudden wall of water from the Luo River Dam engulfed everything, sweeping away belongings and loved ones, haunting the surviving victims. In aerial footage, an entire large town is seen after suffering severe consequences from a 6.5 magnitude earthquake. Following that, a 10-meter high tsunami from a nearby breached dam yesterday morning leveled many areas. The most horrifying scenes involve victims continuously being pulled from the rubble, with the most distressing images being those of survivors searching through bags containing bodies to find their missing loved ones. According to reports from a Chinese newspaper, around 120 people are believed to be buried in the wreckage of a hotel. A mass grave covering an area of approximately 1,000 square meters is being dug in Sichuan, Chengdu, to accommodate nearly 500 victims, with plans for expansion if necessary. Rescue workers have reported hearing cries and children's cries from the debris. A local resident named Lunin told the press that hundreds of bodies have been found in downstream villages from the Laochao Dam, and authorities fear that many people may have been buried under layers of mud and debris several meters deep. Meanwhile, desperate survivors have endured consecutive nights sleeping outdoors and lining up for relief food. There are instances of chaotic conditions and a sense of burning within everyone, which is the shared feeling of survivors anxiously awaiting news about their missing relatives. Mr. Li, an injured person being treated at the Laochao Military Hospital, tearfully recounted, "At the moment of the powerful earthquake, the hotel room on the 5th floor shook violently, and my wife, daughter, and I had no time to save ourselves. I was thrown into the debris. I heard my wife calling for help, but then everything fell silent. I don't know how they are now. I can only pray for their safety," Mr. Li added. The most harrowing aspect is that the Chinese authorities are preparing for mass burials while rescue teams race against time to search for and rescue those missing and trapped in the wreckage. According to ABC News, even the areas near the epicenter of the earthquake no longer have standing houses. The Beijing family, for example, has lost 7 relatives, including their young son. Amid the dual disasters that struck the village in the early morning hours yesterday while the entire family was sleeping, after a day of desperate searching, Beijing found his son's body at a local football field, which has now become a temporary morgue. "I couldn't recognize my son's face. I only recognized him by his clothes. My child had no intact place on his body," said the grieving father. "He was our only child, our priceless treasure. I am in so much pain. We must bury him as soon as possible." Regarding the extensive damage caused by this dual disaster, the National Disaster Reduction Commission of China released the above figures based on reports from health departments in Laochao. Tuanku, one of the hardest hit areas, is experiencing overwhelming pressure on local hospitals as they treat over 540 injured individuals, with many people having to stay outdoors. Mr. Komen, the director of the local hospital, stated that they are in urgent need of a field hospital, beds, medicine, blankets, and medical staff. Furthermore, he emphasized the severity of the physical damage, with thousands of houses, hospitals, shopping centers, and hotels collapsing. According to the AP News Agency, a major bridge considered a local landmark has been completely destroyed, while traffic on the only highway has been paralyzed due to landslides. In addition, rescue teams are facing difficulties as the epicenter of the aforementioned earthquake was at a depth of 10 kilometers near Laochao Town, which is believed to have suffered more severe damage than the average flow. According to Mr. He, authorities still do not have information on the extent of the damage due to disrupted communications systems. Notably, this town reported 14 fatalities and 98 injuries from the 6.1 magnitude earthquake that occurred 4 hours prior to the aforementioned major quake. The military, police, and search and rescue agencies have deployed personnel to participate in the search for missing individuals and recovery of victims. According to a recent report by China's National Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters, the floods in China from the beginning of the year have affected nearly 35 million people, resulting in 146 deaths and missing persons, the destruction of 72,000 houses, and direct economic losses amounting to 123 billion Chinese yuan, approximately $18.93 billion US. China has allocated 795,000 yuan, approximately $122.4 million US, for the reconstruction of severely affected areas by storms, floods, and landslides in several provinces. According to the National Development and Reform Commission, the above funds will support the reconstruction of infrastructure and public service facilities in Hubei, Sichuan, Shantou, and Zhejiang provinces following the natural disasters. Since 5 days ago, most areas in Shantou have experienced heavy rainfall. At 6 a.m., a landslide occurred in Lianfu district, causing the local arterial road to be blocked. After videos of the disaster were circulated online, they quickly spread. In one video capturing the sudden landslide on the mountain, vehicles were immediately buried under the debris, and some were pushed straight into the nearby river. The landslide caused traffic congestion on the Wangling section of the local G65 highway. Many drivers took shelter in tunnels until noon. However, officials did not disclose whether any drivers were injured or killed. Detailed information about the disasters has yet to be released. In addition to the landslides along the Ma River, embankments in 5 provinces in Shantou have repeatedly burst, and many villages in Qi County have been flooded. About 15,000 people from 8 villages were evacuated to safe places during the night. Besides heavy rainfall in Shantou, severe thunderstorms have occurred in Liaoning province from yesterday evening until today. The local disaster monitoring center has issued a red alert for heavy rain, thunderstorms, and hail, with some areas experiencing over 200 millimeters of rainfall in 24 hours. This is the highest amount of rainfall recorded in history. Early this morning in Dalian, there was heavy rain and hail. Many residents were awakened by the sound of large hailstones. During the night, people woke up to find their vehicles with broken windows and their trunks submerged in water. According to images and videos shared by netizens, the hailstones were the size of eggs, with a maximum diameter of 7-8 centimeters, equivalent to a clenched fist. Reports quoting residents who have lived in Dalian for decades state that they have never seen such a large hailstorm before. According to the Dalian Insurance Industry Association, the severe weather has caused damage to over 20,000 vehicles in Dalian. The Dalian International Airport has been affected by the unexpected hailstorm and severe weather, with several aircraft suffering varying degrees of damage. Some flights have been delayed or even cancelled.
The recent information also marks the end of the comprehensive news bulletin for today. We will continue to update the latest information in the upcoming bulletins. Please subscribe to the channel to stay updated. For now, goodbye and see you again.